Matt,
Where to begin, Moj? Where to begin?
how are you, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Well, why don't we introduce ourselves? And like I was saying, a lot of our fans, hopefully, they're still with us. We played a long time ago. So my name's Ryan Mougenel. I played for the Kitchener Rangers '97. I played for 2 years. I was traded from Owen Sound to Kitchener and had an amazing experience, and obviously met you. We're lifelong friends. So why don't you introduce yourself, Odie?
Yeah, I'm Matt Odette. Played for the Rangers back in '92. I was a 11th round pick who somehow made the team. Played 2 years in Kitchener. Ended up getting traded to the Sioux for a year, and weirdly enough, got traded back to Kitchener for my overage season, and that's where I met Mouge. And yeah, great memories in Kitchener. Cherish those memories. Obviously, we say it all the time to our guys. It's a special time in your life, and you'll remember them forever. And you make lifelong friends. Obviously, Mouge was just at my wedding a couple years back, so that's how long we go back. So, yeah, Mouge, do you remember the trade that brought you to Kitchener? Describe kind of that time in your life and how it went down.
I do. I was playing in Owen Sound at the time, and my junior career was an interesting one. It probably didn't get off to the start that I wanted, and again, I also met some amazing people when I was in Owen Sound. Got traded to Kitchener. Immediately came into the room, and I knew it was a pretty special room. We had exceptional coaches, I think, back then. I think Geoff Ward and Brian Hayton did such an amazing job, especially at that time when, to be honest with you, I don't think I really had been coached before. I think that was the first time I'd really, learned a lot about the mechanics of hockey and systematically how to play. And it was all pretty new to me. But I think for me, I was excited. It was such an amazing arena. My billets were amazing. Everything was just it couldn't have gone any better. And then we had a cast of characters. We had a lot of character, and we had a cast of them, that's for sure. So we're very fortunate and to get traded to Kitchener. I think it really shaped kind of my path in the game. So I remember walking in the room and seeing this big fella.
Well, we met in Florida's camp right before that. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah. Mouge and I were in Florida's camp together, and I remember in the scrimmages, we were wondering. Everyone was like, "Who's this Mougenel guy running around like an idiot out there?" So someone handle this guy. And that's when I first met you. I remember, some of the rookie games that we were playing in together. We were sitting on the bus. Actually on the way to one of them, and we were talking about, hey, what you were asking me what Kitchener's like, and you're like, man, it would be great to play there. And funny enough, a week later you got traded there. So that was funny. How all that went down, how we met, and obviously the rest is history. But it's fun. It's funny you mentioned Wardy there, and you're right. He was an innovative coach back then. I don't think it. I at that point hadn't seen a coach like that who connected with his players in a different way. He got to know them on a different level, and he had innovative ways to motivate. Some of the things that Wardy did was amazing looking back, and then we hadn't seen anything like that before. With some of his stories, and I remember in the playoffs when he brought the torch out, and in the dark arena, having to light our fire again. Just unique things that Wardy did that no other coaches were really doing at the time, or I hadn't seen at the time. It was somewhat of an old school approach back then, and just to get to know his players on a different level, and bringing out new ways to motivate. It was new. I hadn't seen that before, and I've used a lot of Wardy's things in my coaching career that to motivate. He he really opened a lot of eyes in terms of a new way to coach back then.
Yeah, I think one thing he did, Odie, is he got to know the guys and show them that they cared, you know, and that's maybe something that neither of us had probably growing up. I mean, the game's changed so much, the athletes changed. Even looking back at some of the stuff that Wardy did back then, even now is probably, it's just different, right? Athletes are different, and I think Wardy and Hayton and especially our good friend Danny Lebo, who these are people
going
that are still there, and they've had influences on all of us, and a lot of guys went on and played in the NHL, and they probably are all saying the same things about some of these people that have had influences on their career. So Wardo and Hayter, I thought they did an amazing job, and probably started our pass, and we'll get into that into this game. So Ode, why don't you tell everybody kind of what you're up to now and what's kind of led you to that path, and how I actually ended up coaching you, and
that's quite the path. Yeah, I mean, I left Kitchener. I ended up I got drafted to Florida and ended up not signing there. So after my overage year, I ended up starting out in Roanoke, Virginia, in the ECHL, and started the long and winding path of pro hockey. From there I went to St. John, New Brunswick, Quebec, in the American League. Played 6 years in the American League. Kind of got close to making it to the show a few times, and didn't quite get there. But had some injury troubles. When I was in Montreal system there, and ended up missing a whole year, and obviously a tough time in my life, and had to reflect, and I just wanted
spent
to
a lot
back.
of time with me that year, actually.
Yeah, too much, but yeah, I just took some time to reflect, and I wanted to get back to enjoying hockey, so I went out to California and Fresno to play, to kind of wind down the career and have a little bit of fun at the same time. So, really enjoyed it there. Played in Fresno, played in Stockton, California, and obviously that's when I bumped into you, Moosh. You were coaching or I was actually in Fresno before you got there, and oddly enough, you and Tito. Matt Thomas was obviously a big influence on both of us as a coach. Got the job in Fresno, and oddly enough, I was a player playing for my good buddy Moose. So that must have been weird for you, coaching me when we were teammates and friends for so long.
Yeah, it was awesome to finally yell at you and you not have to beat me up. I think there was a written code there, but no, you were like all of us when we kind of started getting into coaching. You kind of find your way. You think about like how young I was kind of getting into coaching, how you were too, and how long we've kind of been at it. It was, it was awesome coaching. It was some of the best time I ever had coaching, to be honest with you. We learned a lot about the game probably, and had tons of fun doing it, which is a great way to do it. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I played for you and Tito, both Fresno and Stockton. Oddly enough, our team folded in Fresno when we were in first place, and things were going real well. And you and Tito wound up in Stockton, and I followed you guys there. And you moved on to become a head coach in Vegas at the time, and right as I was at the end of my road as a player. I was not very effective anymore, to say the least, and was lucky enough to get the opportunity with Tito to be an assistant coach with him, and from there started my head coaching journey in Bakersfield in the ECHL. Couple of years there, and then I always wanted to coach at the junior level. I really did. I wanted to work with the younger guys, the more impressionable guys. was lucky enough to get the opportunity to come to Seattle as an assistant coach. Was 4 years as an assistant under Steve Konowalchuk, who was absolutely fantastic. Learned so much from Steve, and we had a bunch of success here. Won a championship in the WHL, and he moved on to the NHL, and I got the opportunity to become the head coach here, and I've been the head coach for the last 4 years, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Living in the Pacific Northwest, it's beautiful. Obviously, a blossoming hockey area with the Kraken coming in. Just an exciting time to be involved in hockey in this area. So I'm very lucky, very lucky. Met my wife here, and I've got 2 step kids, and things are going good here, Moosh.
Yeah, well, that being said, I know you kicked your coverage, that's for sure. But Ode, how was the year? Like it was a little bit of a grind. I know, for the Kitchener Ranger fans out there, I know it's hard. They didn't have their season. It's hard for the players. I obviously have a lot of connections to players and coaches in Ontario as well as you do, which is kind of funny that you're coaching in the Western League. But tell us about the grind and how it went this year.
Yeah, it was a grind, and first of all, my heart goes out to the OHL and the players and coaches and staffs there. It's to miss a whole season is heartbreaking, and we're so grateful to have the opportunity to have played this year. Obviously it was a roller coaster ride to get here. The players, man, what they went through to get to our season, the startup, the date, then it being pushed back, and you can work out in your gym, then you can't, and the roller coaster emotions that our kids went through was unbelievable. We obviously didn't think it would ever happen, and then through the diligent work of our ownership and our league and our management to get it all put together. Obviously, a lot of credit goes to everyone there that put this on, because it was so valuable for our guys. The opportunity to get development time in with our young players, and just play some hockey. It was so refreshing to get back in the rinks again and see all the guys. We talk about how the junior career is so short, and you got to cherish every minute. Like, I can't imagine as a player losing an entire season and 2 playoff runs and opportunities to win a championship. It's heartbreaking for the kids. So just being able to have a season, although a shorter season, of course, but normally we would have, it's just immeasurable, the benefit. Normally we'd have our spring camps and rookie camps to get our young guys acclimatized to what we do here and meet the staff and all those things. And we were able to, get our guys in town to do those things. And, not only that, as our veteran players who are trying to sign contracts and make an impression and get an opportunity in pro hockey, they were able to do that as well. So, so grateful to be able to do that. And once again, man, I'm heartbroken for the guys in the OHL that didn't get a chance to do it.
It is tough. I think the one thing, Ode, I think that, I think going through all this in pro hockey and in junior hockey, I think the one thing it's done for me as a coach is put things into perspective. And I think, again, you said it, grateful to coach and be a part of it. And I think, if we're talking about if there's such thing as a positive with COVID, I think that's one thing. It's made people reevaluate, and I think even how we do things as coaches, I think that's going to be a big lesson for us. And I think the Ontario Hockey League is going to be stronger for going through it, and coaches like yourself that are great leaders and great people. Obviously, the Kitchener Rangers, who are, I think, no offense to Seattle, but they're one of the premier, junior organizations out there. I think they got a real good handle on making the business better next year. So I'm excited for those guys. Hopefully, the guys that didn't get to play this year find an opportunity somewhere, whether it's, the CHL does such a great job of providing an opportunity for those guys to get secondary educations. I think that becomes even more valid now. And probably, when we played, I don't even know how much of an option it was all the time. It's something that I didn't really consider, but yeah, I just know, kind of following it and some of our prospects and stuff. I know it was a grind.
Yeah. What were some of the protocols that you had to go through, as that made it a little bit longer? Obviously we were grateful for the opportunity, but you're right. It was a grind. The 23 games felt a lot more than that. I think because of all the different scheduling quirks and, the protocols that we had to go through. And, I think you would say the same thing. The amount of work on our training staff and equipment staffs was off the charts. And, a lot of credit goes to those guys to navigate us through that season, because it definitely wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, and that brings you back to kind of like being around a guy like Danny Lebo, how much appreciation you establish when you're a young guy for guys like that, and what goes into it. So yeah, our protocol here, and I'll give you a quick little synopsis of my career and where I am. I'm actually with the Providence Bruins in the American Hockey League. After my junior career, I went on to play in the IHL, the American League, Team Canada, the East Coast League. Got into coaching fairly young with my our good buddy, Matty Thomas, who was coaching in the ECHL. Got my teeth in the ECHL, battled in the ECHL for a while, got a head coaching job in Las Vegas, which was amazing. It was hard enough. It was tough being a young coach, coaching in that city. It was, but it was an amazing part. My daughter was born there. I got married, had 2 kids. Then I coached a year in Hershey, Pennsylvania for Washington's farm team. From there, I ended up in San Jose, and a lot of connections to the Kitchener Rangers in San Jose. I lived with Steve Spott and Pete DeBoer, and had the opportunity to work with an amazing coach named Larry Robinson, who I used to give it to all the time about looking at his picture up on the wall. Remember that his picture was up on our wall all the time.
Kitchener Ranger, yeah.
It's funny now. Larry obviously had a big influence on me as a coach. I talked to the guys about, Larry Robinson. He talks a lot about like reacting from the middle to the outside, and I say Larry Robinson, and guys are like, the basketball player. But there's so many connections to Kitchener. It's great.
A lot of great defensemen went through Kitchener, right? Larry Robinson, Scott Stevens, Al McInnes, Matt
Odette, Wes Swinson.
Yeah.
Who else? Jason Gladney. He was good.
Oh, he was good. I was just looking up some old stats. He had 90 points as a defenseman.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
who are some of the other old? Sorry to cut you off. I was going to say, who are some of the other old Ranger teammates that you either still keep in touch with or you remember fondly?
Well, obviously, we all still keep really close tabs on our young friend Boyd Devereaux. So Boydie, I usually try to get up and see. He's got. Well, Odie knows when he was building his place in Bayfield. We frequent that cottage quite often. So Boyder had a piece of land right on the escarpment of Lake Huron. It's breathtaking spot, and it's hard to explain, but he built 3 kind of buildings on top of this escarpment. It's totally breathtaking. So we used to have a lot of beverages on the deck at Boydie. So I try to get up and see Boydie, and his family's got 2 beautiful girls, really super talented kids. That's the Devereaux. They're all very talented people. And then, I try to see Boydie, who is a fireman in Waterloo. People probably already know that. So he's gone on to do some amazing things, win a Stanley Cup, and now is, putting out fires, which is kind of neat. But other than that, Ode, I talked to Geoff Ward a little bit here and there. He actually lives in the area here in Boston. And, always somebody to kind of lean on and mentorship. And then, I'm real close with Steve Spott. He's awesome human. And other than players, I get I hear things like Jeff Ambrosio has a son that plays. I know Rob DeSantis has kids that play. They play for Birch. And then obviously Joe Birch and I talk quite a bit. Birchie, again, is one of those special people you meet in the game and has gone on to do amazing things. I think the Kitchener Rangers are in amazing hands with this guy. He actually, Birchie and I lived together in junior. He's probably tell you more stories on how I used to probably bully him back in the day and make him do the chores at the billets. But yeah, he's on to great things there with Kitchener, and that's about it. Obviously I talked to you quite a bit, but I know Ryan Pepperall is a cop in Niagara Falls, I think, area. I'm trying to think of who else from I played with Paul Trainer in Rochester the year we went to the finals. Trains was a real good man. And then I see Belitski in that commercial. Everybody always sends me the commercial in it. So I had to send him a line when I saw that. I know he's working, mentoring goalies all across Ontario. So again, he's probably absolutely amazing at that too, because he was a real special goalie. And that's what I remember from those teams is we just had 3-4 lines of amazing guys. We had actually really good teams when I was there.
Yeah, no, we did. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Birchie. I probably a story or two that the Ranger faithful would like to hear about him. I don't know. We remember a little bit differently back in the day as a young buck, rookie, finding his way in the OHL. But he was an awesome kid back then, and obviously, look where he is now. Just a great human being, smart guy, and done quite well for himself. So good on you, Birchie. Yeah, I mean,
remember when we caught him? Remember we caught him putting sardines in your car?
Yeah.
Tell that story.
It's funny. Belitski and Desi were in their last podcast. We're talking about the car wars we used to have. Yeah, we had different secret groups that would mess with guys' cars, and this one particular night we were in a stakeout. Me and Mouge kind of watching out my front window to see what might happen to my car, and we see this guy tiptoeing across the front lawn. This young skinny silhouette opens my car door and puts something under my seat. So we let it slide for the night. We thought about jumping out and attacking him, but we let it slide and kind of use it to mess with him for the next couple of weeks. But I guess his plan was it to rot underneath my seat for a couple of weeks and me not knowing about it. But
you probably wouldn't have known about it.
No, I wouldn't have. I had quite the car. I had quite the junior car, Mouge. It was a 1981 Caprice Classic, two-tone brown, no hubcaps.
Oh, I remember it well.
Yeah. And
do you remember my?
You talked about this morning. One of the factions of the car wars was a group called the OHLPA. And they put toothpaste on my front hood, OHLPA, and I left it there for a couple of weeks, and sure enough, it got embedded into the paint. So I had OHLPA across my hood the life of for as long as I had the car. So that quite the junior car, but times have changed a little bit now, Mouge. Guys that don't have cars like that in junior hockey.
Do you remember my first car that I had in Kitchener?
The Volvo?
No, that was my second car. The first car I had was a Crown Victoria, and you used to have to open up to choke it, you used to have to open up the carburetor. So you'd like take a pen and you'd have to choke it like, and God rest his soul, Danny Snyder, when I was in Owen Sound, he was just a schnooky. And me and Wayne Primo used to make him choke my car all the time to start it. So he'd be out there with a pen choking it. But yeah, that was my first car. But confess to some of the stuff. We could probably confess to some of the stuff.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, Blitz and Desi were talking about. I think Desi was talking about a leaf incident that happened during the movies. His car got filled up with leaves. I might know a thing or two about that. I don't know. And Blitz was talking about his car getting put on blocks there out in the corner of the parking lot. Mooj, do we know something about that?
We might. The best is he said that it was like an army that took his like a whole unit of people took his wheels off his car. Oh, Blitz! It was actually just me and Matt Odette, but I had no idea how to use it. He probably had to call his dad to figure out how to get his tires.
25 years later, the truth comes out.
But I remember Wardy brought us all in. He's like, "Okay, enough. Like enough."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a different time back then.
Yeah.
Hopefully none of my guys are listening to this.
Well, it's funny. I just think about like how remember Boydie went to a different school? And I remember him rolling him out of our car like, Boydie, you got to get to school because your parents will snap if you're not in school. Like, oh, Boydie.
Yeah. I remember those days. I mean, Boyder was obviously a great kid, but he was a very highly touted kid. And I think that's one thing that, not to pat ourselves on the back, Mooj, but, the way we kind of approach leadership is to kind of take the young guys under our wing. And, Boyder was one of those guys that, we knew he was a great player and we wanted him to feel as welcome as we possibly could so he could perform at his best. And, I think back then that was a little bit rare at the time. There was super vets and things like that. So I think, being a part of that culture change there and really helping the young guys kind of find their way in the OHL was part of what made us a tight team. There wasn't that, separation between rookies and vets and things like that. And, I'm sure you guys, preach the same thing when you got young guys coming to your team. It's so important for them to feel comfortable and welcome so they can perform at a high level. Same thing with our guys. This is a welcoming place. Guys are leaving home for the first time in their lives and, they don't know what to expect. It's kind of a whirlwind. So if you have that, the welcoming teammates and the older guys that kind of help bring you along, it's so important to have that. So I remember that back in those days. I think that's something that you did really well, Mooj, as a leader, is, treat the young guys real well, make them feel welcome. And I think back then it was something that didn't always happen, at that level.
Well, it's funny, Ode. I think that's probably what makes us kind of the coaches that we are, and how important we value that is the relationships you have with the players. And X's and O's for me only go so far, and it's those relationships that you have that kind of forge what you are as a coach. That's why I know how good of a junior coach you are just by the type of person you are. Like I think. We put together a group of all these coaches from, NHL coaches and this summer during the pandemic, and we talked about a lot of different things. And I think the common denominator that kept coming up was how athletes have changed and how we've changed with the athlete, and how important it is that players feel comfortable. And I think that's something that, for me, doesn't change in the NHL either. The guys are the same, So I think those relationships and those things, like, I think it's all kind of, there's a reason to it, why we were the way we were and how we got into coaching. So I'm very thankful. Some things I probably would have done differently, especially in junior, but I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. I think, I'm in pro hockey. The one difference is, I get to see kind of the college experience versus the junior experience. Everybody's path is so different. I think, in college, guys are a little bit older, and you see that when I get guys kind of out of junior here in the American League, like some of them, they're just used to everything kind of away from the rink kind of being mapped out for them. But you have to kind of nurture those guys in junior hockey. That's just the way it is, where college guys are a little bit more put together that way. But I think the way the Kitchener Rangers, Seattle, some of these great programs in junior hockey are doing it, they're ahead of the curve, because these guys are hitting, pro hockey, and they ain't missing a beat, which is crazy, So
yeah, these guys they're young, and it's that's why I enjoy coaching the younger guys. They're a little bit more impressionable. Sometimes you get guys at the pro level that think they're a finished product already, and you can't tell them much, some guys. But the young junior kids, they're like balls of clay. They're very receptive to what you're teaching them, and it's quite rewarding. You see these guys mature and develop over the 4 years that you have them, and go on to do big things at the pro level. It's a nice feeling as a coach, and I've had the pleasure to work with some amazing kids, and hardworking kids that have moved on to do big things. So and you're right, Mooj, the NCAA versus the major junior path, the way we approach it is they're both great paths. They're both excellent paths. Each situation is different. We do our recruiting by talking about what we offer. We offer a great program here. And sometimes it's a matter of being honest. If a guy is not ready to play junior hockey, we're honest with the guys, right? Where, maybe the NCAA is your path because you're not quite ready yet. You're a little bit of a late bloomer. So we think the NCAA is a good path, but our path is a good one too. So it's up to the individual player to decide what's best for them. And we do our recruiting by talking about what we have to offer, and we think we offer a really good product.
Well, it's funny now, like a lot of our buddies' kids are playing. I had a real close buddy, Wayne Primo's son, kind of went through the whole process of teams, the draft, kind of the same kind of growing pains in junior hockey, and just kind of being like close to it and watching it. It's crazy how in junior hockey, we talk a lot about the guys that make it to the NHL, but there's still so many good players out there that coaches and people, parents especially, have had great effects on whatever route it is. But I just know coaching and watching some of the guys that it's kind of come full circle. And I remember watching Theodore in the American Hockey League and knowing that you had coached him, and I saw so many great habits on him. And I think I called you after, and I was like, I think this kid's going to be really special. Obviously there's been a bunch that you've touched on that have gone on to have great success. And listen, that's rewarding, I think. But the ones that sometimes don't go on to make the NHL, that's just as rewarding. Some of these guys that go on to be police officers, firemen, doctors, there's so many different paths for guys now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, Moj. Our goal as coaches is to make these guys obviously better hockey players, but better people when they leave us. And like I said, these guys are so impressionable at the junior level, and you see them mature over the course of 4 years. And, when they by the time they leave us, they're completely different people, more mature, you know, grown up and more professional and ready for success. So when we see our guys go on to, you know, obviously pro careers, but, you know, go on to, you know, Canadian University and play hockey there and earn their degrees. And, you know, we're proud of the guys that do that. And like you said, guys that go on to be, you know, doctors, lawyers, firefighters, policemen, all those things. You know, it makes us proud that we made a difference in their lives to help them, you know, become better people. And they're always welcome to come back, and they'll see their names on the walls, and they'll come back and with their kids and their wife one day and talk about their experience here in a positive way. So, you know, once they leave here, no matter if they play pro or not, they're always part of the T-Bird family. And, you know, I know that, and that's the same for you guys in Providence, and it's the same for the Rangers. You know, I feel like I'm a Ranger for life. Just the way the organization and the fan base treated me. And, you know, I wish we could do a reunion or something. There's so many great guys.
Yeah, you know where I was just thinking about, you know where we're doing it? Boyd Devereaux's cottage. Boyd doesn't.
Yeah, Boyd, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, Boyd doesn't even have to know about it. You know what? I'm on it. Because actually, Pete DeBoer's got a place like right around the corner from him. And I remember being like, Moosh, what's with Boyd Devereaux's place there? I'm like, I know there's only 4 people that live there now. So we'll just have to take advantage. We'll just have to kidnap the cottage, Odie. We do actually good work at cottages. So
yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
I'm actually, I know it's tough. I don't know when we'll get home, when things kind of loosen up. I don't even know if I can cross the border just yet, but my girls are barking to get up to the cottage kind of ASAP. So
yeah, and that's what I miss. I miss the cottage life. I miss, you know, cottage.
Here's another little fact. We both got our American citizenship around the exact same time. We went through the whole process together, the green cards, remember it got kiboshed our whole, and then we had to fight for it again. And yeah, so I know it drives my mother and my father crazy, but I tell them I'm American and it drives them bananas. So I definitely miss Canada. I do want to get back at some point here. I just hope they can kind of get it straightened out.
Yeah, it's been too long. I mean, sorry, I said the S word, but shoot, it's been the last time I was back home, you know, in cottage country, there was my wedding.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was 2019. So, you know, we're all dying to get back to Ontario and see everybody and make the tour of our cottage and your cottage and our friends and families' cottages, and just kind of relax. That's the one thing about Ontario. It's beautiful cottage country. So that's what I'm missing the most, not being able to go back.
So funny. The guys always give me a hard time here because I have, like when I start my video or whatever, I always have a picture of the cottage up there. And I always say, like, when the Tragically Hip and stuff are on, I'm like, I've probably drank 15,000 beers to this one song, you know? Little do I know, I'm like, Odette was probably right there beside me. We had some epic nights up the cottage. Me, you, another beauty OHL legend, Cameron White. You could write a book probably on Whitey.
We could have a lot of Whitey stories right now, but half of them would probably hit the cutting room floor, unfortunately.
Well, there's a lot of stories I think they'd probably have to cut out. Even Belitski started to talk the other day. I was like, oh no. But
that was fun listening to Belitski and DeSantis.
So, I golfed in the alumni golf tourney with Desi and Alan Rourke. Alan Rourke was there. It was great seeing him. I hadn't seen him forever. And actually, I know somebody. Serge Payet. I talk to Serge every once in a while. He's a player agent now, so he has some. He always has players.
We've had a couple of his guys. He deals a lot with the European players, so we've had a
right. So it's kind of neat seeing him do things, and he's a
super professional guy.
Oh, he's so professional. I was like, tone it down a little bit, but
he does a good job with representing players, man. He really cares about the guys. But it's funny, he was underage back when I played with him, and so I remember him as a young kid, and to see him as a serious agent, I still got to do a double take at times.
He was such a good kid. Yeah, there are some real. And then I saw on like Facebook that like Sean DeGagne is like a fishing guide. So I'm gonna have to hit him up so I can get some fishing up north. Maybe that's what we do, a little alumni fishing trip.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, so many. I see guys all the time, not all the time, but through the hockey world. Hockey world's a small world. I was just writing down some names from the past. Like I see, obviously James Boyd, good old buddy of ours.
He's another one of our crew. Yeah,
obviously doing big things. We chat every year around this time, come import draft to kind of trade notes. Dylan Sika, obviously, again, he's a GM.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Small world, hockey world there. Joey Coombs, I bump into him at the NHL draft,
because he's
every
coaching
year
in the USHL, isn't he?
NA, I think NA. Billy McGuigan, he's out east coaching, talk hockey with him every now and then. So
I had one of Billy McGuigan's players. The people out there, they got to look this kid up. Alex Gallant. He's the toughest human being I've ever seen in my life. Like
still doing it, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Darcy Harris for all you Kitchener Ranger fans out there.
Yeah.
Burns.
Jason Hughes was a killer back when I played with Hughesy back in the day. Like he's a guy that was so underrated as a tough guy. Wow, was he tough.
I'm trying to think of the big defenseman there before I got there. There was another one. He was really tough.
It's probably you're probably thinking of Hughes.
Yeah, I was probably thinking Hughes. I was thinking maybe Freddie Oduya. Did he? No, he was in Ottawa, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a small world. Like, I mean, some guys we obviously connect through Facebook and stuff. Todd Warner is another guy I bumped into.
Todd Warner
at the Memorial Cup. He was broadcasting with Sportsnet. So you just bump into guys here and there. Obviously you lose touch, and there's so many guys, good guys that I like. You always remember your rookie class, right? Like,
right.
You create a different bond with those type of guys. Like I remember Wes Swinson and Peter Brewerly and Greg McLean. Like we were so tight back in those days. And
who was your coach back then? Joe McDonnell?
Joe McDonnell. Yeah, I see him at the draft every now and then. Yeah.
Who was the assistant then?
You put me on the spot.
He was a tough guy.
Mike Moore.
Is that it?
He was an assistant coach.
Kitchener Rangers.
Yeah.
The
trivia question out there.
Here's trivia for you. Who playing pro in, what year was it? You were playing, I was coaching. Did you shotgun a beer with in San Diego's dressing room?
Me?
After we won the one series.
Are you talking? Say that again.
Who did you shotgun a beer with in the dressing room in San Diego when I was coaching and you were playing in Fresno? It's a Kitchener connection.
I've never shotgun a beer in my life, Moosh.
Come on.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
I'll give you a hint. His daughter was a Canadian athlete. She married an American athlete, one of the best looking human beings I've ever seen in my life, Ross Bueller. Oh my gosh. Come on, Odie. Dr. Ellis.
Dr. Ellis. Yeah.
E-Train.
Kitchener Ranger dentist.
Yeah. Shotgun to beer. Remember he was down visiting. I was like, E-Train, you're coming to the game. And he came in the room after we all shotgunned a beer together. What a great human being that guy was.
Yeah.
Remember I took a high stick in the face?
Oh, that's a great story, Moosh. You got to tell that one.
So I got high stuck in the, basically like underneath on the outside. I was leaking everywhere. So I sewn up. I don't know. It wasn't Dr. Ellis that sewed me up. It was the other doctor, Dr. Reuter. I can't remember his name. Anyways, he sewed me up. 2 weeks later, Wardy's, I had this like huge like growth over the top of my tooth. And so I had all
Was that your house when this happened?
There's all these like, I had all these stitches inside my mouth, and I like.
Oh, it was fully healed like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
later.
it was like 3 weeks after the stitches were out. There's like a thing growing over the top of my tooth. I yank it out. There was a huge sliver of wood. Remember how big it was?
That wasn't a sliver. It was like a chunk of wood.
Oh man, I remember the doc's like, good thing you were taking the, the medication for infection. I was like, yeah. I was right on that. Oh, some good. Imagine back in the day.
You meant what? Have you had any crazy injuries back in those days? I had a couple.
Yeah, you had the hand. Remember the hand you got?
Yeah, we had a line brawl in Kitchener, and I was on top of a guy, trying to get his helmet off or something, and two other guys fell over top of me, and I didn't realize that at the time, but a skate sliced right across my hand, and I didn't really feel it.
There's no blood.
There was no blood. Yeah, I didn't really feel it, and I just couldn't move my fingers anymore. My grip just released from the guy's jersey, and I'm like, what the heck? And I looked at my hand, and I could see the bones and the blood, the kind of the veins and stuff were still intact, but they were just, the skin was split open. It was quite gross. I remember there was a linesman on my back trying to yank me off the guy. I'm like, look at this. He's like, oh, that's gross. So you got to get off. So the brawl's going on like right in front of the doors to get to the kind of the St. John's ambulance people. So I'm trying to like squeeze through everybody that's fighting, and there's like punches flying. And I remember coming off the ice, and you have those volunteers, right? The St. John's ambulance.
Yeah, I remember those guys.
And I'm like, oh, look at it. And the guy almost puked on the spot. He's like, oh my God. But yeah, I had to have surgery, cut all my tendons.
Yeah, you missed a whole year, basically.
Yeah, I missed the rest of the year. So that was a bummer, but
I remember you broke your ankle.
Broke my ankle. Yeah, that was quite
I remember your last shift in the OHL was against Plymouth. And
I was gonna tell that story. This is a good segue, Moose. A good so I broke my ankle about 4 games left in the regular season. It was on an icing, a race for an icing. Back when there was touch icing, that was a good rule to get rid of. I got my feet pushed out from under me, and I went feet first into the boards.
I know who did it.
Butler. Somebody
Yeah.
Butler.
Yeah.
Anyways, my foot was sideways. Bad scene. Out for the season, I think. I missed the first round. Actually, I think I sawed my cast off after like 3 weeks.
You played?
Tried to play. Yeah. I mean, that's the Barrie series, right? Remember when we were down 3-1 and
they talked about it.
We came back to Desi and Blitz thought that was awesome. That motivation that Wardy did was awesome. He put us all on the bench in the dark odd there. He comes walking out with the torch and puts it in center ice. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, that's the fire we got to have. And this fire doesn't go out for the rest of the series. And we ended up coming back down 3-1 to win in game 7. I remember I couldn't play. I think I dressed and sat on the bench for like the last.
I think he did too.
Couple of games. But
a bunch of idiot. Then Luch Nasato, he was running around like a knucklehead, and
we ended up playing Detroit, I think, in the second round. And my last game, I ended up being able to play a little bit, like the last couple of games. But I remember my last game, I took a shot.
Yes.
A one-timer right off I had a screw in my ankle. I took a one-timer right off the bone. And that's the most pain I've ever felt in my life with any injury. So I couldn't play anymore the rest of the game and sat on the bench, just throbbing. And I think we were getting spanked that game. I think it was 6-1. So they put all the graduating players on the ice for the last shift. And I go out there, Hader puts me out there, and I can't even skate. So I'm hobbling around out there. I'll never forget this. I mean, the coaches for Detroit was Maurice and DeBoer. Yeah. And I remember, I know DeBoer was a Ranger coach, and I've forgiven him. But
I told him, I said, if Odie ever finds you in Bayfield,
he was chirping, I get off the ice, you bum. Like, what are you doing? Like, I couldn't skate. I literally couldn't skate
I remember
the whole
that.
shift.
Wow.
So I'm just kind of hobbling around, tearing up. My last shift in junior. And I'm getting chirped by the assistant coach on their team. It was rough. But I was thinking about that the other day because we just had last game for some of our junior guys, and it was a different year this year. Normally you don't see it coming, right? You're in the playoffs and you always think you're going to keep playing, you're going to win and keep playing. Yeah. But this year with no playoffs, guys could see the finish line, right? So, our 20-year-old this year, was, he could see his last game coming. He knew it was his last game. So it got quite emotional. And it got me thinking back to my last game, a junior, and that story. But do you remember your last game, Mouge? Is there any weird, different emotions? I know it is an emotional
I remember
time.
We were playing Kitchener in the conference finals, or we were playing Oshawa in the conference finals. And I remember, like, my first shift in, I two-handed Jan Snowpeck on Oshawa, and I got a 5-minute major and I got booted out. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to end my junior career like this. And they ended up scoring. I remember sitting in the dressing room and, like, just hearing pucks go in. They were up, like, I think it was 4-1. And the guys battled back, and we came back and we won. And then we got another opportunity at them in Oshawa, and we didn't get it done. But that was another real good group too. Was the year after you left, and I played my OA year. And again, I think it was maybe Boydie. So DeSantis was hurt that whole year, and what a special player he was. Like,
I was just looking up his stats. I remember the one year he played 33 games. He had 27 goals and 63 points in 33 games. Like,
and like, Odie, you think about that, like, with that kid too. Like, that's what I mean. There's so many amazing hockey players out there, but there's a kid, and I tell our guys too, usually it's just like one person that likes you, like, you just need one person to like you. And it could be something crazy. Like, I don't know. We, like, talking about players, like, I had a player, and I remember the kid just came over to me and Larry Robinson. It was in development camp. And he's like, are you guys going to the rink? Can I grab a ride with you? And he was in the car, and he was from, like, near Seaforth. So we all had this connection, right? And I ended up really his name was Jacob Middleton. I ended up really liking the kid, and Larry really liked him. Larry Robinson liked him. And he would always go to bat for the kid. Next thing I know, the kid, we end up signing him. And then, like, a couple years later, he's in the NHL. And sometimes that's all it takes. Just one person kind of rooting for you, And that's like Rob DeSantis. He was probably the best player we had played with, right? Like, statistically.
Yeah. He was.
And he had one shoulder. His shoulder was absolutely mangled by the time he got to his third year junior.
I know.
He played that whole year with a brace. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I remember he was telling a story about his, like, first game back. He fought, I think, Nick Bootland or something. And it brought back some memories. Like, yeah, I remember that.
I do remember that.
Holding our breath. Yeah. You're right, Moj. All it takes is one guy to like you. And that's the way we tell our players, you never know what game you could turn someone's head and give yourself an opportunity. I remember when I was in St. John for the Flames organization, Tommy Watt, your buddy Tommy Watt was
great, man.
A guy, he'd be like, I'm the only guy in this organization that likes you. The story, like, it's weird. Like, yeah, you're right. It only takes one guy or one game that you catch someone's eye. Like, the way I got drafted to the NHL was Ed Jovanowski was the big first overall pick that year, and we were playing Windsor, and I happened to get into a fight with Ed Jovanowski center ice when everyone was there to watch Ed Jovanowski, and I had a good fight with him, and that's how I got drafted. I actually got drafted to the same team. We were D partners in camp.
Right.
So it was, yeah, you just don't know. You just don't know who's watching you that night, what scouts in the building.
Yeah, and that's such a great thing at your level. And that's probably why I love the American League too, is because it's about the growth and the development. And a lot of people talk about development, but I don't know if they think like winning and losing and all, like it's not as complicated as that. It's about growing the player, and you grow them together with a plan, and you care about those players, and sometimes it's something as simple as that. The guy finished his back check. Wow, I like that guy. I'm gonna write that up.
Yeah, like what? I mean, what's gonna get the scout or the coach to look down and look at his sheet and look at your name and go, oh, who's this guy? Like,
right.
Yeah, it could be a big back check, could be a second effort play, sticking up for a teammate, like whatever it is, it just.
And that's why that's what's exciting about junior hockey for me, is that there's so many of those stories. I get the opportunity to work. I like the American League just because it's you see the growth. I'm watching, obviously, for all you Leaf fans out there, but I'm watching our guys with the Bruins, and we've been very fortunate of drafting and developing some pretty special people. And it's funny. They're like, oh, the Bruins do this, the Bruins do that. No, they're just different. And they like really have a plan in place, and they care. And, right now I'm looking at their roster. We have, I don't know, there was one time there was 6D playing for the Bruins that have been here in the last, 3-4 years. And it's not, listen, a lot has to do with the player and the individual. It's high quality people they draft, high quality people they sign, and high character, and competing, all guys that compete, it's all very important.
You've done a good job pumping out defensemen there, and as a forward, you've been working with defensemen for what, dozen or so years, maybe more. And talk about how that kind of transitioned into being a defenseman guru now from your playing days as a forward.
Well, it's funny, Ode, because like when I got out of the game, I started like a skills coach, and I really enjoyed that side of it. I loved kind of the development of skills. I loved learning about skills. I was super inquisitive too. I asked a lot of questions. And then when I first started coaching, I coached with Matt Thomas, who was one of my best friends. We had so much fun doing it. And it really started my love affair of the game again, because it happens, right? I wasn't loving playing anymore. And I started to really love coaching. And one of the things I recognized that I loved was coaching the D. And I think it's because you can see it, you can fix it, you can work on it, and you can develop it. There's a lot of like growth in defensemen. And I think as I've gone along, I've had amazing coaches in my life that have helped mentor me, and like talking to you and, Larry and Todd McCullen and Mike Havlin and now I got Butch Cassidy, like I've got all these amazing resources around me that I've just spent a lifetime kind of building as much knowledge as I can for the player, and that's one thing I think the one thing you got to have as a coach is patience. You got to have to inspire it. And I think, that's something that I take pretty seriously. I think, thanks. I appreciate you saying that, because, very proud of a lot of the guys that have not just go up for a game, but a lot of them are going up and playing,
Yeah, it's patience, Mooj. You hit the nail on the head there. Like you've had to show a lot of patience with some of your guys that are now starting to see the success, right? People were panicking about different guys that you had, and you had that patience and the extra time for these guys, and they turned the corner. right? When they might have been written off at times. And that's the thing about working with young guys, right? The runway's so long, like you can't
Can't count them out.
Can't count them out. No. And back in the day, I remember in junior, like if you didn't get drafted your draft year, you weren't going to get drafted again. Like you were fighting an uphill battle to make it in pro. Now, thankfully, it's kind of shifted. I think people are realizing that guys develop at different times, and some guys are late bloomers. Like, back in the day, it was unheard of for a guy to get drafted his second or third time through the draft.
Right.
But now it's happening all the time. Guys are developing at a later, later point in their development path, and they're getting drafted their second time around, their third time around, and if they don't get drafted, they're they have a big overage season and they can sign a free agent deal there. Like there's many ways to make it.
Yep. They just got to stay with it and be.
Yeah, you got to stick with it.
Pour everything into it.
There's so many good stories, of guys making it and grinding it out. Tito's goalie there, Hauser. Matty Thompson's goalie from Cincinnati, like 27, 28 years old, grinding it out in the East Coast League and in the American League, and finally gets his chance and wins a few games. So you just have to have patience with some guys, and you can't be so quick to write guys off. And that's the rewarding part about working with younger people. We have young junior age kids, you got young pros, to see everything click together and to see them make it. And that's why we coach, to see guys have success. We're living through our players in a lot of ways.
I would like some of their paychecks.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Then I'd be living beside Boyd and flipping Bayfield. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to set this up. All the Kitchener Ranger Booster Club, you're more than welcome to join us at Boyd Devereaux's cottage. So he doesn't know it, but we'll make it happen. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to chat about, Ode. If you have,
it's a couple things written down, but I think we covered everything. I mean,
well, I'll say this: continued success to the Kitchener Rangers. You guys, I'll tell you this: I was really secretly hoping my buddy's son was drafted there, so I could get up and see a game. But
you're making us feel old, Mooj. Like you're right. Like guys that we played with. We're talking.
I looked on the thing. We're the oldest guys that they've gone back to the alumni. They can't find anybody after us. Even the hockey DB can't find them. Yeah.
But it's weird drafting some guys' sons that you played with.
That's crazy.
It's quite weird.
It's crazy. But
hopefully
keep it going, Kitch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kitchener stands out as one of the elite franchises in major junior hockey, and I enjoyed my time there. I'm proud to say, as a Kitchener Ranger player, hopefully we can see you guys in the Memorial Cup one of these days.
Yeah.
In the
Seattle Kitchener final. Love it.
That would be cool. But yeah, it's a special. We tell our guys all the time, and it sounds cliche, but it's such a special time in your life. Your junior career, and you make lifelong friends. You always don't you wish you could go back and relive a couple of those years, in the time we had. It was such a great experience. It helps mold you to who you are today. You got to do some growing up in a short amount of time. And, you're doing with a bunch of peers that are in the same boat as you, moving away from home. And I think that's what helps create those special bonds is, you're going through that whirlwind time in your life together. And, it's special. It's really special.
It is. Well, thanks for being a part of it, and look forward to more beers at the cottage.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's open those borders up, and can't wait to get back to Ontario. And I can't wait to get back to Kitch. It's been a long time.
Yeah, let's. Where's that place we used to go? The buffet place. It was
Loose Change Louis?
No. No, Mongolian Grill. Remember, we go bananas at Mongolian Grill?
Yeah.
Oh, extra corner weight.
Yeah. Right on.
All right. All the
All
best.
right, Moj.
Take care.